All right, I believe we are now live.
Let's do it.
Zero to Hero, Season 3, Episode 3. Took a week off, dabbing all over the place. One of our horses is dabbing all over the place. The other one, not so much. I'm wearing red in solidarity of my horse, Big Drippo Ruby. Um, yeah, so I was taking care of some family stuff out of town for the past few weeks, but back at it, ready to go. We'll be back weekly, assuming nothing else comes up going forward. And with the holiday kind of off on a different night tonight, but we will be back on Mondays next week,
Yes,
assuming
sir.
that's still good with you. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, I guess we can start with you because I think that'll be a lot more fun of a conversation. How has the past 2 weeks been since we last talked? Because you had mentioned, hey, you wanted to do some paid racing, you want to try and attack some different distances and try and win something with this horse. How's it been?
Yeah. It's this horse ended up being kind of exactly what I thought it's gonna be. To a T almost. Like almost it basically is like it's crazy how exact it is. Like it's a Z2 that the EV is probably never going to be at paid racing, but if you go through the last 2 weeks, it can win in C1 against top quality horses. So, like, if you want to have fun with this, if you're sitting around and you want to throw it in, you could potentially win. You're probably not going to be positive with it. And then it has
Sure.
some tournament performances, which brings its overall profit to 0.04. And I basically said last time, like, that was the exact type of horse this was going to be. Over time, it was going to make more than it costed. So that's good. I knew that at the minimum, that it wasn't a complete dud. But
Yeah.
look, it's never going to be a killer. To have a Z2, though, that's going to Z2 leg that you're at least going to make cost back with and can perform in freeze and can occasionally win the paid. I think we're okay with that, especially post algo, and we know that there is a kind of quote unquote ceiling on some of these beasts to get one that you can use, especially that's probably stuck in C1 forever. You got to take what you can get.
So I'm not trying to put words in your mouth here, but it almost sounds like that you've kind of hit a ceiling, but you're breeding two Z1s together. And like you would, to me, you would think that the value off of that would be somewhat higher than what you've got out of it. But you've got two great horses coming together, and it just kind of it seems like you're riding the line of like, hey, we're going to be profitable, but it's not going to do a whole lot for us.
Yeah, like this is a horse that, and I'm not poo pooing this or just say, I don't want anyone to think like, oh, he's being snobby when he says this, because I know Z2s are high quality, but like we have so many better horses than this that, like, what I'm saying is like, yeah, we will make more than like we spent on it eventually, but like we're definitely not grinding with this horse as we get more and more breeds from breeding 2.0 down the line, because it doesn't even qualify that much. When it does qualify, it can obviously win, but its variance doesn't lead it to qualify too much. With paid, it's probably not profitable. So you're more using this one to probably breed out the line a little bit. And if we saw this horse in someone, actually, you won't see it in someone else's stable because it's Phantom Pace for Blood, and that doesn't go anywhere. But if this was my personal horse that both parents I owned and could decide what to do with them, this is the quality of Z2 that I've made many a time over the past year with Ambassador specifically, putting two Z1s together, like you said. And those ones tend to end up in other people's stable through cheap sales where, this horse could be, if someone wanted to spend time on it, to grind with it, could be your best horse in your stable and can make you some money. I'm just lucky enough to have some stuff where this one will probably be phased out over time from running on a real daily basis. And being that of a Z2 knock, we'd probably have to wait for lending before we gave it to someone, like actual lending on the site, before we were willing to send it to someone.
Interesting. I that's I appreciate, and this is kind of why we want to do this series, is we want to have real conversations about many different sides of breeding. And I appreciate that you're being so real about this because, on paper, it's a Z2 knock from great parents. You think, yeah, okay, cool. Especially if you're newer to Zed, you're coming in, you think, on paper, this is going to hit. And it's not that it's not hitting. It's that, I'll talk about this a little bit when we talk about Big Drip. Zed talks about time to fun.
Yeah.
And I'm not racing your horse, so I don't know, but I'm not seeing it with your horse. I'm not seeing it with my horse.
No.
And that makes me a little sad.
Yeah. And look, like, it's a really interesting topic to bring up because, like, if you get it, so specifically a Z2 leg that, like, isn't good in the general environment, it's probably going to be one of the last horses to get a segmentation for itself, right? Because, like, find, like, Z2 knock leg Z segments, those are going to be for, the Buterins, with the elites, with the pacers, with the crosses. So you're kind of really shit out of luck, per se, if you can't operate with a horse of this quality in the overall environment. And that's the cost benefit analysis that legit everyone has to do. And I tell people sometimes it's easier. People are obsessed with taking like a 0.5 ETH horse and turning it into the 5 ETH horse. When if you really focus on it, you can turn a 0.02 horse into like a 0.08 horse. And that's not breaking the bank, but you have a lot more fun that way and you do make a profit.
And I think that's the way to go for 90% of the people. Yep. One, because you can afford it. Two, your time to fun is there.
Yep.
Maybe there's still a little bit of like discovery, not necessarily the discovery races, but learning about the horse, which is to me a big part of the fun factor. I think that's the sweet spot is, buying a cheap horse that might have some potential, try it. And if it doesn't work out, well, you probably spent less or close to the amount on a breed anyway. So it's not like a huge loss on your part.
And I'm all about cost basis now. So it really does impact that time to fun because even I'm getting scared out of buying some horses that I think are actually really good value. But I'm like the grind to get like 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, but like 0.05, like, hey, you may not get like the greatest horse, but if you wake up with that being your goal, like, I don't know what 0.05 is. What is it? Like $100 maybe.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I just got to make $100 in this horse's lifespan to like make it feel worth it. Like that's such a less higher mountain to feel like you got to climb every single day. And the times you have to hit, like you just have to win one like tournament race one time and qualify, and you probably make that back. And then that's the game. And that's the game that I was playing right before Discovery, like super well. I was breeding a horse. I was doing tournaments with it and dailies, and I was just getting back the cost of it. And then once I got back the cost of the horse, I could be very easygoing when it came to what the price was. Because at the end of the day, once I knew I hit cost, I knew the sale was totally profitable. So I would sell a horse cheap to people that I know or people that I liked in the community, and then just roll it forward to the next one. And that's such an easier way to structure time to fun than to buy what could be like a great horse for like 1 ETH. But even if you do get that, the grind is just like, my God, it still takes weeks to get that, even if you find a horse that can eventually get there.
Right. And good on you, because that's such a great community move of like, hey, you've made your profit back. You've had your fun. You can still have a little bit of fun, but now you kind of pay it forward. You're giving someone else a chance, something that's somewhat proven and at a discount. Like that's beautiful. So hats off to you. That's awesome.
Some of those horses have been kicking my ass, so I think I got to be a little. But like the other day, I was in like a tournament, and one of these horses. One of the best examples of it is this horse, Cousin Jason, that like I just saw was like really good. I just bought it really cheap, and it's a good sprinter, and I like made back what I needed to make back, and then I sold it to someone, and that's just a specific horse that has been following me around.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think a lot of people, I don't think that's anything me specific. I think if a lot of people like got their horse back to being profitable, people just want to move on and people want to have fun, and you get tired of like the same thing, especially if it's not a killer and you grinded with it, I have a sneaky suspicion that if people had horses with a cost basis of under 0.1 and they grinded to get back that money, they'd be a lot more lenient on the prices they were willing to sell. Where if they have a horse for like 0.08 that they made no money back with, that they're like, hey, I got to make at least back that 0.8. Let me try and put it higher than that. If you make back profit, honestly, you could sell it for like half of what you bought it for. And the total ROI on that horse is like 50% in like a week or two.
Yeah. Yeah. God, that's nice. But yeah. Hey, Crazy Cat, thanks for popping in. I don't, that's so much harder to do now, I feel.
So much harder. And Doughboy always brings it up. Like I was right before Discovery happened. And again, I'm not even someone that even does it for monetary purposes. Like I was legit making a business out of breeding horses or buying horses cheaply, discovering them, and making enough money back in like quick paid racing or these tournaments when they were first popping off. And like just quick, like I'd buy a horse for like 0.05. I'd make like 0.03 in a tournament like one day, and then I'd sell it for 0.04 like really quick. So the total like 2-week process, I'd make like 0.07. The horse was nice. 0.05. Like people, this space got people in like a weird mode. Like when did making 50% ROI in 2 weeks become like a bad thing, right? Like people are obsessed with like 100 X's. Like we invest in stocks where if they make like 8%, we're like good year. And now we won't take 50% in 2 weeks. Like that's the game that people got to play.
I laugh all the time when I hear people say like, oh, you only made $20, $30 profit after gas. Well, okay. But if you do that 3 or 4 times and you're a multiple of your investment or you're 20% plus, like that's a huge win.
Yeah.
You make $100, every few months. That's huge.
It's crazy. It's crazy. People just got, and I'm one of the, when I say people, I'm including myself in all of those, like this space really fucked up like our minds with like returns. Like we should like if you spend 1 ETH on a horse, like in the real world, like if you spend 1 ETH on an asset and it makes you 0.1 ETH over the next 12 months, and that's a 10% ROI on that asset that year, that's a great year. Like if people spend 1 ETH on a horse and that horse makes like 0.1 ETH, I feel like sometimes we're not thinking that like we're getting that much when it's like, that's like people forgot like assets and ROIs and a lot of old school, like really just things of this space that have been around forever have just been completely like forgotten. And the numbers that people think they have to achieve to make money are these crazy amounts. And if you play that way, those are the ways a lot of times you get burned. People think they have to take the chance on like the 0.3 horse to make the 3 ETH horse when you could take a chance on like 10 0.03 horses and just like double more than half of them. And then you walk away with a profit. And that's such an easier game to play.
Exactly. And again, more fun.
So much more fun. More fun.
Shifting gears from fun, let's talk about Big Drip over here. This horse is the definition of mid in every single way. It refuses to lose. 48 races. Haven't raced as much as I would want to. Hope to be racing it more. But like, okay, you look at this, like 25% show rate from a Z13 Buterin.
Yeah.
6.3, not horrible. 1 pay to race. And then look at this.
Yeah.
0-0, and it's pretty much flat, a little higher up here. And again, that kind of aligns with the mom's Super Chic's performance a little bit. And we got a little bit more of a skew, I think, because of the dad just being so strong. Definitely has the dad's fire preference for sure. And yeah, so like last time we talked about this horse, complete opposite strategy from yours. We talked about trying to downclass it, and like let's hit just distance marathon. Try and get it to downclass. It doesn't hit. And yeah, so if we look at like my last few races, 2000 won that.
Ooh.
22, 10, 22, 3, 24, 26 got a third, 24 got a 10. Like it's almost showing like variance when I don't want it to.
Yeah.
And I think it's just sitting there. 22, another first. 2 out of 3 wins came from 22. So I'm going to, I think, shift gears. Yeah, looking back at this streak. Siberia says try 18. I've only done 2 races at 18, and it wasn't great if I recall. Not to say that I won't explore that anymore. Let's see if we can pull them up here. Yeah, there's a dub at 18. The reason why, and this should be in here, first and a fifth, is when you look at the performance, and I think it's going to refresh on me here. Shit, it did. The where it's like racing against its competition. So like I've got a few races in let's see how this goes. I've got a few races in like 1 or 2 races in certain distances. And one of them I might have gotten like a third, a first, whatever. But if we look here, God, it loads so much faster. I love it. This is kind of my telltale sign when I'm evaluating a horse quickly. So looking at, okay, yes, I got a first. Like if we look at 18, I only have the first place race in here because it's not looking at Discovery. And so 1 race, first place, win percent's at 100. But if we look down here, so the average, like speed-wise, with some degree of normalization, is right on the average for the competition. So that with a win, it tells me that that is not sustainable over time.
No.
And when you look at, again, how close these red triangles, meaning the horse's actual performance, are to the white triangles, to me, that says, hey, this is a mid horse, and it's reflecting in its performance right now. So now if I had this 1800 and the red triangle was significantly in front of the white, I'd say, okay, we're working with something here. I don't, in all of the horses I've evaluated, seeing this type of chart early on is just indicative of it's going to be kind of stuck. It can win, which is cool, but it's also, I mean, just all over the place. So I think I just have to bite the bullet and say, let's go after. I'll try a few more 18s. I don't hate that idea, but I also just want to hit the sprints again and just say, you know what, we can't downclass, at least not well. It becomes too much of a grind. It's not fun. So I'm just going to try going kind of shifting gears, talking to strategy for next week. I'm going to try, I'll hit 18 a few more times. I'll hit some sprints, see what happens. What are your plans for Phantom Agent next week?
It's really a lot of the same. We're going to put it in mostly free, where Brian and Michelle will probably sprinkle it in pays if there's anything that, you know, sticks out to them while they're filling. But it's always like the day-to-day thing with that horse is let's try and qualify it in the tournament. If the day happens to go that we put it in like 2 or 3 pays because they set up nicely,
Sure.
We'll do that. Like especially today, right? Because it's the pity point, so it'll probably be more pays over the next 24 hours. But again, like we don't really expect to be like killing with this horse. This is more of a, we're just in the mode of like qualifying as many horses as possible that can potentially qualify. And this fits into that. Honestly, it's in, you know, you start building out your funnels and who races in those funnels. And obviously your top racer, when a race in that funnel pops up that you think is good, you put it in that one. This isn't even our best marathoner. So there's probably like 1 or 2 horses that we're taking care of on a daily basis before this one. But yeah, it'll race every single day, at least 5, if it's on its way to make into a tournament. And it was bred for minimum of a knock, which I think is 0.08. I think it's in between like a 0.03 and 0.04 profit already. Over the weeks and over the time, it'll, you know, be it'll be not consistent when it goes up, but it'll just slowly be consistent where, you know, who even knows? Like, honestly, I can't even tell you what the total is going to be at the end of the year of profit for this horse, but I can just tell you, like, if we wanted to, this horse is going to definitely at least make back what we bred it for. And I guess in breeding 2.0, when it has the blood that it does, it's a horse that is decent. And again, so kind of like with your horse, with my horse, what we got to think about is segmentation in the future to save horses that can't run in the current one. And we're both in difficult segmentations. There's a Z2 legendary, not like I said, there's probably going to be nothing for that. So I'm kind of screwed if I can't be in the operating world. And yours, even like there's Buterins are good, legs are good too, and Buterin legs are good. So even you're dealing with a tough segmentation that with this graph, I'd be very interested to see your horse in just a Butte leg open class, because that's kind of a very unknown class, but there's secretly a lot of killers because there's nothing to like sneeze about when you're talking about any sort of legendary horses, because it's too Genesis. So I would be interested in what this would look like against just Butte legs. What do you think?
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see it now. I realize I have to wait. Understandable, but yeah, I would love to see that. You brought up a point earlier, kind of speaking to segmentation, that I think is really interesting. That it's you mentioned that with the pity point going on, you're going to be looking potentially in some paid, but looking to win now.
Yeah.
So the pity point is designed for horses that finish not necessarily first, second, or third, being the pity point. Fourth, I think it's the most points. And then it kind of dissipates out, like goes down after that. So you've got horses that are focusing on that and that can be successful to do that. Then you're in a really unique opportunity because you can attack that. You can still have a place at the table, so to speak, on pity point day, because then you can try and go for profit, go for performance. And so I think that's really cool because it opens up multiple sides of racing at one time, both directly and indirectly. For Big Drip, I'm still kind of in the middle. Like I can go for fourth and it can finish in the mid, as we saw. But now with all the increased competition there, it makes it significantly harder. So I think, to your point, like the sweet spot, not to say this horse would be a monster or great or anything, but it could be better. It needs a leg Butte open class. Just let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an interesting one. Like I think about segments, and I think, like I said, we're in difficult ones where really there are probably not too many segments that are going to come around. And from the size of it, like I don't think either of our horses, even with the segments, would stack up that well. Looking at it, like even mine, just if there was a knock leg segment one day, or even just when there's the legendary tournament daily that's coming up in a few weeks, like it's probably not going to do that well because we are in segments where the top horses are really, really, really good. And it's not like the fact that we have average horses kind of fits with the top tier of that segment, where like if you have like what Doughboy was always telling me is I have some pacers that their graphs look just like Big Dippo Ruby. And Doughboy was always saying that's because you're going up against the rest of the field that's not just pacers. Wait till there's like a pacer only thing. And surely that horse, when there was a pacer only thing, made it to the finals of that pacer funnel. So it is very interesting to see how like segments does open that up. With that being said, two legendaries performing like this, I don't know if the legendary segment really unlocks them as much as a graph of this type on a pacer cross elite probably unlocks them so much more.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. Legendary is just way too dense of a field to really do too much out of it. And especially like the other thing that I could have going for me would be the Z number. But that's a 13, which again, like isn't low enough or high enough technically to like really put it in a special bucket. One, from a time standpoint of like hitting soon, or two, like there are going to be some really good horses within whatever band they decide to make, whether it's Z11 to, 15, Buterin legendaries. Let's say they do something like that. I don't think it's going to do much better. I think the biggest problem with this horse is that it needs to be racing in at least, we talked about this last week, class 5, 6 would be a dream. Then we could start seeing some performance, but it's going to be so hard looking at that blank 11th and 12th place right here. It's just
that's tough, but it's also a good horse for I've always thought that there should be like a suicide tournament, that your first race of every day is like counted, and if you come in last, you get chopped off, and if you don't come in last, you make it to the next day. So this horse would kind of be perfect for that, because it would never come in last. But yeah, in terms of everything else besides that specific type of tournament, it's tough, and it must be really difficult for you, because like you're saying, this horse probably could perform if we can get it down there, and it's just we can't. So now we have a horse. We legit have a horse that could be useful and could be fun in a place that you just can't get it. Which is then like legit. How do they provide to you their mission statement that they said that every horse has value, when like you just have this one right now that you just can't get where it needs to get? And I understand we can't have, all horses, just moving to exactly the class that they need to get to, but it is extremely frustrating when you think you have one that could get where it needs to. And this is a very extreme case of you just can't downclass it. And I just have a few that can downclass maybe 1 or 2 classes, but can't get to the one that they ultimately need, which is a very, very, very tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. Andy says, hey, MJ, I have a similar horse. I down mine at 1820. Big Drip looks like down at 1618. Could be. I don't think so. Again, we looked at the speed and just kind of where it relates in relation to its competition. Maybe it's so unraced there that there could be something there. I won't completely write it off, but initial signs are pointing towards no, if I'm shaking my magic 8-ball. But that being said, this week I'm going to focus sprints. I'll do 1,000 through 18. I'm just going to go all over the place. I'm going nuts.
Any your chart on Haku?
Yeah.
Oh God, this is just a weird horse,
right?
I mean, 18 and 2000 doesn't look like. This is a weird horse. This is a really weird horse. I'd be interested to see next week if you run more 18 and 2000. Like you've ran 8 races at 18 and 2000, and 3 out of 8 you finished in first or second. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's really not bad at all. Like I'm very, very interested to see how that continues, because as I've been looking at more of the market, I've seen horses very much like the one you may have, where just the mid distance have good grass, and even if like you don't have down distances at like the poles, you just have really weird, messed up graphs that like maybe you can never down, but maybe you have enough at 18 or 2000 where you could qualify for some dailies there. And as we know with dailies, you qualify for enough, eventually you'll hit. But yeah, if these 2000 and 1800 graphs started filling out a little bit more to the left, this is a horse that I've seen quite a few times that it definitely would not shock me. So I don't think this is dead yet.
I'm not giving up. We got 7 more weeks to go. 7 more weeks to go. Plenty of time. Maybe. All right. I'll switch it up. I'll just to simplify things. I'll just focus on 16, 18, 2000 this week, just to see what happens.
Yeah. I'm looking. I think you might be fine at 18. What do we have? What are the DP of the parents again?
Super Chic is kind of mid, and I would say like not super strong. Like I ran at 18 a lot, but then you've also got like this 26, and then the dad, Perfect Stride is very much a sprinter.
So
sprinter into mid.
So the dad is a sprinter into it. Let me see super. I'm looking at Super Cheeks per distance finishes. Yeah, see, yeah, this is weird. I would guess if I had a guess, I would say this horse. See, if I was making this horse, I would have been like, it's probably going to end up being a 16, but it seems that it may have ended up at 18 or 20. So this may be a really weird scenario where we look back at the end of this series and say, and we won't know what to draw any conclusions of it, but we may be able to draw the conclusion that like Big Drip pulled way more from Super Chic, which we said is the worser of the two horses, than it did from Perfect Stride. And then it gets into the conversation, does breeding talent matter? Like, could a horse that's bad have good breeding talent, and you actually don't want to breed it because its skill is passing down its skill, which isn't very good. And then you could have some good horses that it's like the opposite, that their breeding talent is very low. So, you know, we may find some of that with this horse because its graph is going a little bit more towards Super Chic in terms of distance preference than Perfect Stride.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'll run mids. We'll see how it goes. And we'll kind of go from there. We're at the half hour mark. Is there anything else that you want to hit before we move on to our next week? Otherwise, I'm pretty good to wrap up.
Let me think. Is there anything with Phantom Agent or Big Trooper Ruby or anything? No. I guess from you have a general feeling about like the conditional dailies. Do you have a general feeling about them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very cautious, not cautious, but like hesitant about any tournament in Zed.
Yeah.
Because it becomes, I don't know, it becomes saturated very quickly.
Yeah. And I also like, I just hate when like, so I think conditionals are, I'll make the overall statement before I go into my problem with them, into like, I genuinely think conditionals are the future and are very important, and these could be fantastic. It just boggles my mind that they know how breeding works and you breed down, for them to like start with pacers and start with the lowest Z numbers and work up. Like they should be like giving us like the first one should have been legendary, so it gives people time to like breed legendaries down to exclusives for the next one, and then breed those exclusives. Like they started with pacers and 268s that no one has, and they're working their way up to the horses that everyone already has. As during the time they're working up, we're all breeding working down. So by the time like we're taking our good horses to make the elites from them and make the crosses and make the pacers, they've already ran those weekly and dailies. So they didn't really time it up with the fact that you breed down, and breeding 2.0 just opened and we haven't had time to go all the way down. So the most people have gotten is exclusive in breeding 2.0. So to start with pacers just didn't give it created an environment where people were either using pacers that were from breeding 1.0, which who cares about those, or people were just hitting together shit to make a pacer for the tournament, which isn't what you want conditionals to be. You want it to be, oh, I know a pacer tournament is happening in 8 weeks, and in 6 weeks there's a cross, in 4 weeks there's an elite. Let me like set up my breed so in 8 weeks I have a pacer that gives me 2 breeding cycles that I can genuinely work down. Not, oh, the pacer tournament is the first thing coming. Let me go buy a cross on the market that's ready to breed and it's not even that good, just so I can hit it with another cross. So then I can, get into this tournament, because that's what a lot of people ultimately had to do to get in. So I guess what Blazer's point is true. Like maybe they wanted to reward people that had kind of stepped outside the box. I don't know. I don't think that's why they did it. I just think they chose to do the segment that, quote unquote, and maybe they're right about this, they felt were the ones that had, like, obviously pacers and the Z, they had less space in the current ecosystem, but you still got to do it the right way. And the right way would have been starting with legendary, going to exclusive, going to elite, going to cross, going to pacer. So I wish they would have done it that way. But I see how many people are having fun with the conditionals, and me myself, I'm having fun with the conditionals. So, when the day is actually happening and I'm running my crosses and I'm running my pacers and they're winning because they're going up against other ones. I'm having fun during those 24 hours, definitely. So I guess if we're talking about time to fun, I'm not going to lie and say that I haven't really been having fun during those days racing when I genuinely have. It's the preparation and, how I would have liked to have time to breed better things for them that I wish I had.
I saw those events as a direct response to the Twitter community, myself included in that, of people just crying for more diverse racing, and let's look at the little guy.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, like, yeah, let's shove everything at this extreme. But like, to your point, it's like it would have been so much more valuable, more fun had you been able to like work towards that, build a stable out towards that, and do so cheaply or cheaper potentially. And yeah, people are just like rushing to, my point to saturation, rushing to just mash things together. And here we go. Now I'm in it. And it's like in it for the sake of being in it, And
it shows you where their head is at, which is a little dangerous, that they don't go with a legendary one, even though it makes sense, because they're scared of pushback that like, oh, hey, your first segmentation is legendary, when those are the horses that eat anyway. Even though the response is, and it's a valid response, that's the correct way to do this because it gives time to breed down. It's kind of scary that they're willing to succumb to, or think about, what people are going to say on Twitter, even if it's the opposite of kind of what the right way should be. Because like you said, I even wrote it in Discord general because I thought so much about it. Like, it was clear, like they sat down and they were just like, there's a lot of people complaining about Z268s. The next one of the week is a keep on winning. Let's just smash a Z268 with a keep on winning, not putting together. Like, that tournament needed to be a Fibonacci for cut line purposes. Like, you just can't tell me that you understand the game completely and make a Z268 a keep on winning and try and fill like the A bracket. Like, that's a clear, oh, hey, the most people are complaining about Z268s. Oh, hey, the first tournament of the week, we can start rolling out these conditionals, is a KOW. Let's try and make these people as happy as possible. Not realizing if they waited 2 more days and made it the Fibonacci, it would have been like such an actual better tournament experience. And what people would have said afterward would have been so much better, where instead of this time, they wanted to get good graces, and everyone on Twitter, like the first hour or two in, was, this thing's not going to fill. It's KOW. This is like ridiculous that they did it this way.
Yeah, it's the idea is there.
Yeah, like I said, for 24 hours when it's happening, I'm having fun with it. It's just like the lead up to it, there could be so much more gamification than, like you just said yourself. Hey, the first one's a pacer. Let me go, smash 2 things together, because Breeding 2.0 has only been out long enough for me to make down to exclusive so far. And when we want to measure who the best are, who the best breeders are of these certain breed types, and who the best horses are, we want to eventually get there the right way. That being said, it's only this time through that happens legitimately. After they go through them all, and then they go through them again. And like, we start with pacer, we will have bred down to pacer. So right when we get through this kind of first roll, we'll pick up and everyone will have bred down. And I think it'll start being way, way more fun, where there's a pacer one and you're breeding a pacer because, you already have a really good pacer and its breeding is up and the tournament is on Monday, and you're not forcing it. It's a breed that you would have done anyway. And now there's just a place for it to actually run. So I think that will happen next time. And maybe like Blazer saying, this was the opportunity to get people involved that have already stepped outside the box. And like you said, the idea is there. So in a world where a lot of times we don't even get ideas in this space, you can see that conditionals will eventually be very, very good for this game.
Andy brought up an interesting point. I thought, do you think they were trying to force a breeding rush and perhaps to try and stimulate the market? My response to that is the sole purpose of conditional tournaments.
100%.
Towards that, from a business standpoint.
It's their business, yeah.
That's how they're going to make a lot of their money.
Yeah, and I'm not like sitting here saying like I'm rooting for that to happen, but like someone says that to me and I'm like, okay, like I also have like a businessman like mindset for like what I do in my real world. Like Zed,
Right.
for Zed to survive, they need to make money. The way that Zed's going to make money in the very, very future is through breeding. So, yeah, was this a force? Do I think that they sat down? And maybe I could be wrong, but I'm going to say no, that they didn't sit down, look at their books and say, like, oh, we need a crazy catalyst for breeding. No. But do I think that a major philosophy for everything they do is how can it drive breeding? And should that be their philosophy? Yes, 100%. And like I said, that should be their philosophy. Every single thing they need to do as a business is how can we make ROI on this? ROI is breeding.
100%.
I still think again, why I'm thinking it wasn't so much a we're in debt, we need to get like money, because like when you look at the numbers, like if they wanted to force breeding, you don't get people to make pacers because no one has crosses. Like you probably would have went after elite or exclusives first. So I just think they were choosing one side of the other of where to start. But yeah, every single thing that they do should and is focused on making some sort of return. And like MJ said, the number one way is breeding. So they gotta look at it through that, especially when so a lot of usage and stuff because of the way that racing is on the site has slowed down. They need to pick it back up, and that's also, I feel like, I don't feel bad for saying this, and I think that me and you saying it is also very important. Everyone should like be weary of like how much money you're spending for like a 1-day event where, again, remember, you're probably going to bench a lot of these like right after. Like you're only going to make so much money. Like even when I had 2 pacers that made it to the finals, none of them placed in the finals, so they didn't do crazy, but like I only made 0.06 in total from that run through the whole thing. So don't go out there for like a cross tournament and spend like 0.3 to get horses that you legit are running once every 6 or 7 weeks with the conditionals in the way that they're stating, even though like it's really enticing to do that. And I almost did it. Like, to everyone out there, it's okay to get 1. It's okay to get 2 if you want to be involved. Don't go out there and like buy like a herd, a stable of like horses just for a single 24-hour conditional tournament.
Right. Yeah. Please don't.
Yeah, because you'll get burned and then you'll be upset.
Yes, exactly. Darkside says there's sub-floor UUU horses you can lotto ticket with.
Yeah, I only buy pre-algo now if I buy that type of stuff for that purpose. I'm all into the pre-algo because you can.
What's driving that? Why pre-algo?
The lotto.
For UUU?
The lotto ticket.
The lotto of it?
Like, I just know, like, at this point, like, I have enough inputs where if I want to breed a certain type of horse with a certain type of DP, I'm not going out and shopping. So if I'm shopping, I'm just taking, like, a flyer. I'm trying to make, like, a killer. And I know if I'm trying, like, if you're trying to buy the best horse in the game, and that's your only goal, if your goal is to buy the better of the 2 horses, you go with the breeding 2.0 horse on average, because there's some skill in that and you can derive as to how that horse is going to be. If your only goal is to buy, I want this horse to be the best horse in the game, and if it's the second best or worse, I don't care, then you go at breeding 1.0, because your chances of getting that variance killer comes from that pre-algo type bred. So I spent a lot of time UU, and I spent a lot of time looking at already raced pre-algo horses with people that maybe aren't racing them that much, but I think could be very successful, especially as breeding continues to go on. It's quite interesting. These pre-algo horses get even more valuable because what they have even becomes more rare. Like some of the variance differences between pre-algo and post-algo is insanity. That some people are selling cheap horses with variance because they can't perform yet. That I know a lot of very, very sharp, high quality stables that are just literally out there. And even if they can't race too much, like just buying up this variance, because you can still breed it down. And the variance that's coming with these pre-algo horses is just infinitely times more than post-algo. Like if you show me variance charts of a horse, I can almost always tell you if it's pre-algo versus post-algo, because the ceiling is just there for post-algo horse variants, that these pre-algo ones are unbelievable. And I suggest, if anyone, again, not financial advice, but if you are looking and it's a market you haven't tapped into, look into some raced lightly raced pre-algo horses that may have promise or at least something to pass down that legitimately can no longer be made anymore. In a sense, they're a form of Genesis racers.
I like that. I like that a lot. Very, very, very good point. Anything else?
No, that's really it. I think
that's a good place to end the night then.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right, I'm hitting mids this week. I'm hitting them hard.
And we're doing the same with Phantom Agent. Well, I'm hoping that we get to cost during this show. We're halfway there. We have a bunch of weeks left, so we're pushing. And I think about tournament racing is it's faster. It's feast or famine, right? Like we could just be at this, and then 1 week I can come back and we can be like way over that threshold. So we'll see with it. It has the ability to win when it gets into tournaments. It doesn't always make too many of them, so we'll see. But no, we're on next Monday, so we won't have that much between now and then. But I know my stable is back this week. We were all away last week, so we're definitely going to hit the track hard this weekend. So Phantom Agent will have a ton of races to look through on Monday.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Super excited.
Beautiful.
Good luck. I'd love for you to hit profit during the show.
I'm trying. We're trying. I think we're going to get there. I think we will.
Nice. All right. I'll catch you Monday then. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will see you Monday on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube.
Let's do it. Peace out, brother.